We're recording with. How are we all?
Good morning, everyone. Wow, we just recorded a podcast. That's why we're a bit late today. Extending on the conversation that we had the other day here about one-night stands.
Yeah, it was
Quite really, yeah, it was really good. Mark was very honest. You were very honest.
Yeah.
Quite upsetting.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised. I'm not making light of it. I'm just kind of like, let's push on.
Anyway, that is being posted later on today.
Yeah, so sorry for a slightly later coffee morning, guys. Hope you're all well. We've got our lovely agents coming later, so we're looking forward to that. But we've also got to film a Curly Cooks beforehand.
Yeah, that's the way we roll, because it's be a pre-recorded one this week.
Pre-recorded. Anyway, how are you, Nads?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah.
Torrential rain. Woke up to light. I thought lightning had struck us in all the right ways this morning, and then I realised no, it was just lightning. It was a deluge.
Hurled ourselves into the garden, tried to save all the cushions and everything. Looks like a bag of shit now out there, doesn't it? So annoying. Anyway, here we are. This is the summer. This is the summer we expect.
Yeah. Have you had a big storm where you are, guys? If you're listening on podcasts, when we talk to people, we're not talking to our sort of inner selves. We are talking to this lovely live. Oh look, morning from Christchurch and Bournemouth. Mark Piper. Hi, Mark. We are talking to our live contributors on the live chat on our YouTube channel. So that's why I'm about to say, Anne Murray. Hope you're doing very well. Lovely rain. I liked it. I liked running around just in my pants. There's nothing like a downpour to douse your desire. Is there?
What was that? That was the dog dropping its esophagus.
Yeah, our dog just walked past with half a carcass and dropped it. Yeah, no, it was a curious moment. I was quite worried actually. At one point, I was going to be like a water diviner and it was going to be struck by lightning.
Oh my God, you're so embarrassing. Right, moving on. Let's get on with the news because we have to...
Okay, right. The first thing we have to talk about, because this, for me, goes to every single conceivable fear I could imagine. And this is the Titanic tourist submarine, which is on the front of every newspaper today. And when I say tourist submarine, we're not talking, first class chairs. I mean, it's pretty austere. It's pretty small. But the Titanic Ocean Gate submarine, which goes down for think of this as like the people who pay ludicrous amounts of money to sort of fly into space. You know, there's a billionaire on board. There's a billionaire and his son on board.
There's a couple of billionaires.
Yeah, I think there's 5 people on there. It's gone missing.
I think it was the ticket, 195,000.
I don't know. I was trying to find out how much.
Yeah, that's what I saw somewhere. But
yeah, and so it's been missing since I think last night or early this morning, and they have enough air for 70 more hours.
I mean,
inconceivable.
Why? I couldn't. It's
200,000 a ticket.
I don't know if anyone here has ever gone potholing. Those two things, submarines and potholing, I cannot conceive why anyone would what drives a person.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was listening to this podcast yesterday of these people that go that work to retrieve like deep in caves and stuff. I just think it's just so extraordinary to me.
Yeah.
It's so brave.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm the same. And so this story chilled me to the bone today, that these people are down there. There has never been a rescue of that depth ever, is there?
No, there hasn't.
So this hasn't been done.
And they can't find them on the radar at the moment.
No.
But I mean, there is someone, and I do think, unfortunately, the company that's running these sort of expeditions, if you like, is going to have some answers to questions to answer, is that apparently this happened not that long ago. I think either earlier this year or really not that long ago. Yeah. One of them went down and they lost coverage or contact for something like 6 hours. And then they managed to re-find them. So that, for me, is the only little kernel of kind of, hope. Lynn will sing happy birthday at the end. Happy birthday, sweetie. So this is just for the families of those... of those who are in there. And for the idea that, Anyway, everything about this just is absolutely terrifying. And of course, this is a tourist ship that goes down to look at the wreckage of the Titanic. I didn't realise they did that. I didn't realise it was so deep that you couldn't, just sort of get down there with normal.
It is the ultimate adventurous trip. That's how it's described, isn't it?
Yeah, Ocean Gate Expeditions, they offer 8-day missions to see the debris at a cost of $250,000 per person. It's confirmed that its submarine is now lost at sea.
And I mean, who now, I mean, God, if it turns out that this company in any way has done anything wrong, the cost now for that expedition to try and save them.
Well, presumably with the money that they're paying to go, I'm hoping that the company in question has all sorts of kind of due processes in place to be able to. I mean,
I'm trying to remember what was the last time this happened.
I'm not wanting to be litigious at all, but I did feel the suggestion of the person who was on a trip that went wrong previously did seem to, there was a sort of edge to what he was saying, like it was kind of almost something potentially waiting to happen. When you look at the kit, you sort of think, oh, submergible submarine goes down to Titanic. You think high tech, and there has to be a lot of tech involved. But then you're dealing with just an incredibly small, round piece of metal that's so thick that obviously you don't get crushed.
See, it's the same for me. If tourism to space, that as well. I would just think, why would you do like such a terribly dangerous thing? I just can't fathom it. But I suppose if you've got that drive, that adventurous spirit, and you've got the money,
Ruth A says, my problem with the whole concept is they're touring a grave. Kind of, yes, but I wonder whether you could argue in the same way that we are so many graveyards. I mean, lots of people visit graveyards, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, one person who did the trip last year said, Mike Reese, who did it last year, says, I'm not optimistic just because I know the logistics of it and I know really, how vast the ocean is and how tiny the craft is.
Don't. I can't bear it.
So the idea is, if it's down at the bottom, I don't know how anyone's going to be able to access it, much less bring it back up. There's a hope that it might be near the surface. I think I've read a couple of places, people thinking it could be actually bizarrely have popped up, sort of
somewhere else,
way
but they've
over
just
there,
lost radio contact.
And they've lost radio contact.
Oh, please, God!
It's nearly 2 miles down. It's pitch black.
Oh God! Why? Is there anyone here that's a potholer? Please explain to me what happens to you. Why do you love it? Going down a dark, wet hole.
Tim, I mean, this is just hideous on every conceivable level. Tim Moulton, author, historian, TV presenter, said, and you don't want to hear this, the tourists are in a difficult situation.
Well, of course they are.
If it's near the Titanic, of course, it would be easier to find. But the problem, of course, is you can't do a ship-to-ship transfer even. The pressure down there is intense. Water pressure.
So how would they get them up?
They'd have to hook it up with something else, but do they have anything else that can go down there?
God. And there's just 5 people in there. Oh my God.
The UK has not yet been approached to assist the rescue operation, says the Ministry of Defence. Navy expert warns timescale of missing Titanic sub is extremely concerning.
And they have oxygen till Thursday, don't they?
Yeah.
But then I saw something else. Friends of one of the explorers said there's plenty of oxygen and that there's a bit of drop. It's like, really? I mean, how much can you store in such a tiny vessel?
Possible scenarios that could have played out after it went missing. So when it fell off radar, one thing that Alistair Gregg, Professor of Marine Engineering at UCL, says is that submersibles typically have something called a drop weight, which is a mass, a bit like with ballooning, isn't it? That they can release in the case of an emergency to bring them up to the surface using buoyancy. So if they're conscious and awake and they realise they were in trouble, you ditch this mass, a drop weight, and hopefully it forces you to the surface. So they could well have bobbed up somewhere else. If there was a power failure, which could have happened, and the submersible would then be bobbing about on the surface waiting to be found. Oh,
please, God.
Another scenario, though, is a leak in the pressure hull, in which case, he said, the prognosis for that is not good. If it's gone down to the seabed and can't get back up under its own power, options are limited. While the submersible might still be intact, if it's beyond the continental shelf, there are few vessels that can get that deep, and certainly not divers. Oh my God. It makes you... Sorry, I'm reading this because it's almost like I'm just...
I actually feel sick.
God, so all of our prayers go out to them. And there'll be
Yeah.
some smart asses going, oh, well, they all spent so much money, there should be. I mean,
No,
I know, but I
God.
mean, I can already see the comments. It's like, oh, well, this is a sort of, yeah, it's just you don't want anyone to die in any set of circumstances, regardless
You could
of...
say that about every single adventurer, though,
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
you?
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I mean, do you remember that film about the guy that did the free climbing?
Oh, my God.
I mean,
Free guy.
do you remember just climbing up a mountain just with just his feet?
Yeah.
No ropes, no nothing.
absolutely.
I mean, look every year how many people are lost climbing Everest. You know, you can't. They're just, some people are driven to do this. It's a human desire in a few.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
Well,
it
I
myself.
did a documentary years ago where we interviewed lots of adventurers. We interviewed Bear Grylls, Tony Bullimore, Ranulph Fiennes, and all that. And of course, what we talked about was the psychology of adventure. It's and to be fair, even Fiennes said, and what's his name, Bear Grylls said, it's an incredibly indulgent act of
You loved
selfishness.
Bear Grylls,
Yeah,
didn't
he was lovely. So Melly Mel just said here, I did hear them say that if it's on the surface, then they would have been able to use radio contact. So yeah, anyway, just spare a thought. It's on the front of all the papers. Of course, it has all of those aspects to it of filmic. It's a sort of filmic drama. And of course, there's a grisly kind of echo, isn't there? There's all those people who died on the Titanic. And
And
yet we
all
have
the
another...
films that we've seen, and then obviously the other tragedies that we've had previously with submarines. It was
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, tragic. The other story I pulled today was Elton John says Phillip...
We are huge fans.
Yeah,
of
God, I
We adore
literally
him.
adore him. Elton John says that the Phillip Schofield affair furore has been totally homophobic. I want to ask you the same thing I asked on
Why
Coffee
isn't the photo
Moaning.
of the guy from Cocklepots there?
What? Why is the photo of what?
Under that.
It's just a clip.
Oh, sorry. I thought
Just a
you
clip
was
on the
involved in
independent
story.
website. No, not at all. What do you think, Nat? I'm just going to ask, is
I think
the Schofield... Yeah, come on.
I think the whole story, if you are homophobic, will be delicious to dine on. I think homophobics will only see it in a homophobic way.
Yeah.
But to question the power struggle or the power balance is always important. It's always important. A young person coming into any corporation where the most powerful person, one of the most powerful people in that corporation, then starts a sexual relationship, for me, is always questionable.
Yeah.
You or I would certainly know that, wouldn't we? We would know that if a 16, a 15, 14-year-old that was then got really keen with us and then was messaging us on social media and then asking, there would be a line that needed to be drawn. Oh, well, I will pass you over to our production manager who might be able to help you with that. And that's as far as you would go, because there is a duty of care, because you know that a younger person is going to be in awe of your status, of your financial status, of your fame, of your power, and that. So I actually really take umbrage with, by default being called homophobic, because I'm questioning this, because my questions would be exactly the same if that was a girl. Yeah. Exactly the same. Yeah. If somebody came to visit my child at a drama school and then a couple of years later, while she was underage, a couple of years later, gave her a job, and then months later was in a sexual relationship with her, I would be furious about that. What I would see is advantage taken of the power with the power.
I mean, you're not going to... Yeah, I entirely agree. By the way, in the poll, it should say partly, not artly. You well observed. I am staggered and amazed by what I consider to be such stupidity around this aspect of this. Of course, homophobes are going to have a field day on this.
They are.
And that is an unforgivable and regrettable and despisable and despicable and utterly moronic thing for people to do. It goes back to the thing that I always say about Brexit. If you're a racist, you will vote, if you... What is it?
Not everyone that voted for Brexit is a racist, but if you are a racist you'll have voted for Brexit.
It's the same. All homophobes are going to seize upon this and use it to kind of have a homophobic attack. The danger with this, I think, with people, and you know, I love Elton John, but the danger, I think, with sort of saying it like it is only homophobic, is it seeks to shut down and silence and stop, and also, in a sense, sort of stigmatize anyone who has a critical, perspective on it, or anyone who's thinking, I feel deeply uncomfortable about this. It's not deeply uncomfortable about being gay. It's deeply uncomfortable about not even just the power balance. Let's not, this is a personal thing, and you've just raised it by saying, if people keep saying if it was a girl, it would be different. I don't understand this.
But
to whom? If you think it would be different, I think that's weird.
I tell you what, if this was a girl,
What?
I tell you what it would bring out, as well as decent people questioning whether it was right or wrong. It would also bring out all the misogynists.
Precisely.
Both male and female misogynists that would be saying, wow, I mean, was she asking for it? You know, I mean, what was she wearing? I mean, you know what these young girls can be like. So whatever, whether it was a boy or girl, there would have been people with very questionable ways of thinking that rise to the surface. And with this, homophobics will have risen to the surface for sure, but not everybody that's questioning it is homophobic.
But isn't the proof in the pudding that if it was a girl, I think it's precisely because it's a boy that the story has stopped. I think it's precisely because it's a boy and there's this kind of belief that because it happened as a consenting adult, everyone is forgetting that all of the interest and all of the disturbance and all of the sort of ambivalence and ambiguity around the story wasn't about sexuality, even power balance to begin with. It was to do with when did it start and at what age did it appropriately start. You just said about if it was a daughter, if it was I would be going absolutely batshit fucking
just
crazy.
Think, anyone that finds it difficult to understand it, just think about this. They've met your child at a younger age, wherever. We don't know where he met. We don't know because we've not been given those details. But we've seen photographs of him as a very young person, and then blah blah blah. Just put yourself in the position of that's your child. How would you feel? If they've then got a job and they're like 18, or whatever age it was, 18 or 19, it's the power balance we're talking about here. Would you be upset? Would you be upset? I would be upset.
Upset? I would be fucking incandescent dragging them down the pub. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous that we're even having this conversation. I think it's an absolute spurious insanity that we have somehow completely sort of erased the difficult part of this story. It flabbergasts me.
And if it was my son, I would be livid.
We've erased the point.
You see, you've got to understand, it's like other jobs that I've done when I was an actress, and you will see the way that fame can distort everything.
Yeah.
And to just say, well, these young girls or these young boys, they've got stars in their eyes, this person was famous. That's the thing. Yeah. That's a vulnerability. And that is up to the older person, the wiser person, whether it's a teacher, an actor, a TV presenter, a politician, to take the stance of the older, wiser, more mature person that says, this is not right. This is not right. And let's just, the fact, he's also in a relationship, married, showing the world that he was just, I think people have the right to be upset and to question it.
And the constant resurrection of the Cheryl Cole, I don't even know the details of that. Two wrongs don't make a right. You don't sort of quid quo pro go, well, yeah, but here, but there. All I know is if a child of mine was at school and met someone in a senior position and they ended up having sex with them, no way could you sell that to me at any point in their life.
Megan says that. Imagine this is a teacher.
As normal, as something that you could defend. And I think, it really frustrates me that side of this is being checked. This isn't about sexuality at all. This is about, was this person groomed or not? Let's not lose sight of that. It's
the
infuriating.
the thing is, we still don't know the full answers to
No,
the
we
question. That's the problem, isn't it? We don't know the full answers, and we never will. But for me personally, if we just take any younger age, if we just take it from 18, I just think you have a duty of care as the older person to know that that person isn't madly in lust with you or in love with you. They're in awe of the position and of the power. And that is the decent moral thing to do, is to control your own desires, whatever they be, and think of that younger person and the fact that they are vulnerable to your position of power or fame or whatever else. That to me is the be all and end of it. Be all and end of it.
How pop? Why is it different? Why is it different for Cheryl Cole and Liam? She knew him at 14 years old. The only difference I can imagine, because I don't know the intricacies of the story there. This is where all the attention needs to head, though. What was the nature of the relationship between 14 up to the consensual point? If there was
I think she was the judge, wasn't she?
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not even talking about that. We have, why? Let's go back to the original thing here. Why did he resign? Why was it serious enough to resign? And I tell you what, the question that no one's asked in these tell-alls is just that. Why was it serious enough for you to resign? Why has no one asked him just that simple question?
But also on another subject,
rather than it being the noise, because the noise was more after he resigned.
I do believe there is a bigger and more an important conversation about how when a boy, and I'm not talking about the Cheryl Cole situation here because I don't know enough about it, so I'm absolutely not talking about Cheryl Cole, but I think that there is way too much. Sorry, just hang on. British rescue mission for Titanic submersible has been blocked by US officials because it's in American waters. They're not allowing a search and rescue. How strange.
Sorry, it's just breaking news. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think that there is an important conversation around the way that when a young boy might be, seduced by an older woman, it's always like, I sort of hot legs. There's so many songs about it. There's multiple songs by that. And as we know, where do young boys go in that situation? Because there's almost no understanding of that. And I do think that is an important conversation as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, look, let's just move on quickly. The vast majority of you say not at all. Some of you say partly, but not totally. Yeah, homophobia has become part of it. I think to say it's totally homophobic is misguided.
It's not fair.
And it's not fair.
It's not fair on those people who aren't homophobic.
No.
But just want to ask the question.
Exactly. Just quickly, I want to touch upon this because, Nadia, you played this. Teacher stays silent about gender row after scolding a Year 8 pupil for questioning their classmate's claim that she's a cat. We listened to the full kind of recording of this. The first thing I wanted to say,
have any of you listened to the recording of this, first of all?
Yeah, sorry.
No, go on, John.
No, I was just going to say, and in listening to the recording, the first thing I thought was, bloody hell, poor teachers. Not only are they having to manage incredibly uncontrollable classes, they've also got the risk of being recorded at the drop of a hat. But this, as I understand it, this is an altercation, because you don't hear the very beginning of what started it.
And so we don't know if the person in the room had said, I identify as a cat.
And if they had, whether they were being silly.
Or whether the girl, or whether the person had said they identify as one thing or another, and she had said, well, would you identify as a cat? We don't know. Like Mark, first of all, I felt incredibly sorry for that teacher. The noise in the background when she was trying to have this, first of all, sit down, shut up class, needed a bit of that. Yeah. I think teachers are under enormous pressure. If they put a foot wrong around any of this, they would be hung, drawn and quartered.
Absolutely.
So they have got very much a tough line that they are giving.
Echoed by Wonder Woman there, totally agree.
What?
Yeah. No, she was just saying, it's just that they're under such duress.
Duress.
The pupil was sly to record and we don't know what was said prior.
Exactly. And we also don't know, we don't know anything. The girl that we can hear could be an extremely smart young woman who's a lovely class member who is just wanting to push back at the teacher, which is what a classroom should be about. And I liked that. We don't know if there had been a bullying situation in the class. We've got no idea. And this is why I hate recordings released in part, and shame on the Mail Online for posting it and whipping up the hate and the anger and all of this.
Yeah.
That teacher's life is going to be made a misery now.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially by all the kids. How she's going to now be able to control a class is anyone's guess. I mean, what she was trying to do was push back and say, but because we don't know the context, I think that's why this story shouldn't have been run with, to be honest with you. You don't fully know what was said prior to it.
So it's red meat.
And so, of course, I think the way it's trying to be presented is that the teacher's gone back. The teacher's mad to protect the idea that someone should identify as a cat. I didn't feel she was actually saying that just from what I heard.
No, the first line that we can hear from the child is, "You should be put in an asylum." The teacher says, it begins with the teacher asking the pupil, "How dare you? You just really upset that person saying things like you should be in an asylum."
Yeah, so probably, my sense of it is probably someone jokingly said, "I identify as a cat." The kid will have said something to her, or will have said this.
No, we don't know.
No, we don't know that.
She's
but
upset.
No. Right, yeah, but I'm just trying to work out what, it could have been something like that. And then the teacher has crashed in to try and say, "Look, don't play fast and loose with it." I don't...
But I found that the teacher was quite flummoxed, and the child was actually very good at pushing back on her. She said, the teacher said to her, "You're homophobic," and she said, "No, I'm not. I just believe that there's only two genders," didn't she?
Yeah,
and she said, "My mum thinks the same thing. If you rang my mum now, my mum would agree with what I'm saying." And then the teacher was like a bit flummoxed, wasn't she?
Yeah. Someone somewhere points out, though, then it does, and this is where it gets contentious, because, of course, the teacher did then say she was out of order. She suggested to the kid that she needed to move schools.
Yeah, which was outrageous.
Yeah. And so the way in which, but you know what, I think my feeling on this is, if we were to put CCTV into every single class in the country and then microscopically examined the many different challenging ways in which teachers are trying to control classes, and then judge every single one of those scenarios based upon a misspeak or something that was perhaps overcooked or a little bit too emphasized or whatever, you'll end up with most teachers not being able to go back to school, because everyone is going to cross that line in some way. It's chaotic.
Listen, everybody is still feeling their way around all this new language, okay, and this new way of being. And teachers, different schools have different policies. You should hear some of the things that our girls have told us that teachers have had to deal with within conversation. So they are often scrabbling around, walking on eggshells, wanting to be, having to be perfectly right in everything they say. Because if she'd put a foot wrong in the other way as well, she would have been completely vilified. But she does lose it, and she loses it at the end, and she's very... I think she's wrong in what she says and the way she. But my God, they were winding her up, weren't they? So we just wondered, what did you think if you listened?
Well, I think a lot of people, Dawny, I'm sorry, my view may be older, but it's impossible to say or do anything that doesn't offend someone. It's really not good.
Yeah.
Erin Bullimore, there are huge misconceptions about furries. They don't actually identify as animals. It's just role playing. This sounds like a kid messing about, or there are much deeper feelings going on. Sarah Witherington, I would have loved to have seen my kids at school. Their teachers always said how lovely they were. I would be like, "I think you're talking about the wrong kid." Laugh out loud. Male and female. Okay, Joyce Pritchard. Yeah, hang on. Since when did 8-year-olds have mobile phones? Says Daisy Hayes. I don't think they were 8.
I don't think they were 8.
Older than secondary school. Yeah. A Frog, identifying as a cat has nothing to do with gender, but I haven't heard it to know what was said. Anne-Marie Loffer, I can just imagine gangs of kids now causing havoc by identifying as any damn animal. It's going to go classrooms. I bet this takes off and will be TikToked soon. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And again, it's just like...
But I think there should be a duty of care for teachers as well. Now, if somebody wants to film something in a class with a teacher and take it to a head, and the head deals with it. But for a newspaper
I think it was put on social media, wasn't it?
To post, oh, was it? Wasn't
I think it was uploaded on social media,
Well, you know what's going to happen, kids? They're going to ban all phones in classrooms. That's going to be the next thing. I don't know why they don't do that anyway. I really don't.
Angela
So
Thompson,
weird.
why is any of this being taught in schools in the first place? We send our children to school to be educated. What's wrong with providing education without all this? What's woke in the world? I think we have, just finally on this for me, I think we are in a really difficult situation where things are moving not only technologically, but in terms of things such as gender identity. Things move so rapidly. It's almost like there needs to be some kind of, what's it called in sport, sort of time out, where everyone's allowed some time to kind of get the lay of the land and adjust themselves to this new reality or new norm. Because
is it a red card or a yellow card or a pink card?
Yellow card is a warning, a red card is a sent off. So I think
I
time out is a pause.
A time out.
Time out is when they go, time out. So yeah, or ban the phone in the
Ban
classroom.
the bloody phones in the classroom. Mind you, what if there was a, I mean, it's very
There we
difficult,
go.
I don't know,
It's
there's always
too
ifs.
complicated.
But we've got 2 birthdays.
Got one birthday, Lynn Cullen.
Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Lynn, happy birthday to you. Mwah.
Lots of love, guys. As we say, the podcast will be landing later today. Have a good day.